first off, Tommy, thanks for being here. I know how busy you are. Tommy and I go back, gosh, how many years now?
I was thinking about that, probably about 15, because right
Uh-huh.
before I got married,
Hmm.
no, actually more than 15, so 16 or 17, because we just hit
Right.
our 15-year anniversary.
Wow. Wow. So I met his wife first. She was a tenant. And then I met you through her. And I said, gosh, I like this guy. We got to know each other a little bit. Then all of a sudden, I remember it was so funny because you called, and you being a comedian, being a warm up comic, doing all this stuff that you're doing, being an actor, you said, you know what? You never know how stable it's going to be. What do you think about me being on your team? And you came in and just like the ultimate businessman, wanting to learn, staying on top of it. You would have been amazing, but your career was going so well. At some point, I just said, "What are you doing? You're one
Yeah,
of the guys that's actually making it. You don't want to be on my team." So I like to think that I'm one of the guys that fired you and said,
yeah,
"No,
that's right.
no, I don't want
Well,
anything to do. You're too good."
I will say it was a mouthful to answer the phone. Hi, this is Tom. I'm answering for Scott Nell, and the Scott Nell team is a part of the John Arrow group, which used to be a part of Arrow plus Williamson. How can I help you? So it was a lot to get out. So after
Yes,
saying that so many times, it was time to move on. But dude,
yes.
I learned so many business. I had never had a desk job until you. First in my life. I haven't had one since. So I learned a lot of lessons from you about drive and about focus, and that's helped me do a lot of things. So I appreciate it.
No, that's nice. But I tell you, there's people I meet that get it, and no matter what you would have done, you would have been hugely successful. So that's to me. And so, speaking of what you've done, before we get into the real estate hell, do you mind just sharing a little bit about what you're doing now? Because I
For
know that you were on the Ellen Show for how many years before it shut down?
Yeah, for 17 years, I was the audience warm up comic for the Ellen Show, and I did it for that show and American Idol and Dancing with the Stars and all the big shows in Los Angeles. Reached the peak of that career, but we wanted to raise our kids somewhere else, somewhere during the pandemic. Like a lot of families moved
Mhm.
out of Los Angeles, so we're in the Nashville area now. And I set my mind on using that old skill set of being on the microphone, but adding something new to it. So now I'm one of the top auctioneers in the country, where I travel around every weekend and I host these big fancy galas in different cities for amazing organizations and help them fundraise a lot of money. And I'm able to, engage with the audience on stage, make them laugh, but also reach them with some heart and fundraise a lot of money.
I love it. You're so perfect for that because I know the kind of heart you have. And then you incorporate that along with your comedy and then your warmth. It's just like the perfect combination. And I've been following you. It's like millions of dollars you're raising for companies all the time. And for these charities, it's just got to warm your heart.
Yeah, this past weekend was in Tampa. It was the biggest fundraiser in the history of Tampa. Like crazy. It's for the Moffitt Magnolia Ball, the Moffitt
Oh
Cancer Center out there. We raised $5.7 million,
my
and
gosh.
the place went insane with excitement, and but they have so much trust in that great organization. So I was just lucky to be a part of the team to help that magical night happen. It was an amazing night.
Well, I love it. I wish you were around more, but I feel kind of like you're close because I follow you. So I always
That's right.
know what's going on. I see your beautiful kids and your amazing wife. So
Thank you, man. Yeah, and
yeah.
I get a monthly update on the value of my home, automated, I think, unless you're sending individual ones each month. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I do. I just every email you get, I tailor it personally.
Well,
So real estate hell. I'm sure you've got some stories, but so tell me where you'd like to start because in the short time that we were working together, we did
hmm
a few deals together,
hmm
and they were always challenging. So what are you thinking? What are you thinking is one of those stories that okay, let's share this.
yeah, I think to start, let's think about how we met. So Lucy, my wife, introduced us because yes, she was your tenant. We were at that time right before we got married. It was a really stressful time, and we had made what turns out to be a bad investment when everybody did
Hmm.
back in 2006, 2007, bought a
Right.
property in Arizona.
That's right.
And it was a lot leading up to our wedding because we knew we had to get rid of it and sell it and for a big loss. But at the same
Hmm.
time, we wanted to have something in California where we could start our new life together.
Right.
So it was as depressing as a situation as you could. I've always been good with money and done,
Right.
I thought, everything right with money. And then to have, something out of my control, like a real estate crash, put us 100,000, maybe 200,000 in the hole while starting a life together was just beyond stressful. And you, man, were the perfect guy, as a friend, of course, as a realtor, and man, a member of our church. How many things can I name there? But on every level, you helped tremendously to take some deep breaths and
Right.
find the right path based on where we are. You gave it.
Right.
You gave me honest feedback and helped us get through it. And it wasn't in a nice ideal situation whatsoever, but that unideal situation led to our friendship and me being so impressed with you that I wanted to work with you. And so I did for a couple months. So yes, thank you for helping us through that time.
No, of course, of course. So really, I mean, when you're faced with something like that, that's where it's sometimes you need someone just to look at you, go, everything's going to be okay. We're going to work this out. You're young, you're smart, incredibly handsome. You're going to be fine.
Yeah, thank you. My looks carried me through that time without a less handsome man would not have made it through. So
exactly. Well, do you mind talking a little bit about the house in Woodland Hills we sold?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. So that was our when we moved out of California. So this is about 3 years ago now, actually, and we were in a good real estate market then. So that was the great news. And
thank goodness, right?
It was going and going, and it went in our favor big time. And we have 3 kids and 2 dogs, 2 very, very messy dogs and very, very messy kids. So we were moving across.
It, not me.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So we were moving across the country basically, and we're like, well, there's no way we can show our house now while we're in here. So we have to get out. And I think there's very few people I would have trusted to guide us through that entire process, but you were the guy. So you said, I've got everything. So you guys just go, and then we're gonna rework the house a bit and fix some things and add some new walls and
we went a little bit. When I first saw the house, I thought, okay, this is a great house, great area. But I remember because of the dogs and everything, like the tile and the you had that stone tile, and it had like a layer, I think, of dog on it, because every time your dog would just go like this, stuff would go everywhere, and I was thinking like, how do we handle this? And eventually we realized, you know what, this house has been lived in. There's so much beauty in this home and stuff. Let's take it to a new level. And I was so happy that you trusted us to do that, because the house was already wonderful. But by the time we finished, it was so light and bright and cleaned up, and we moved things around. I was so happy that you trusted us to handle that stuff, because at the end of it, I don't know, what kind of premium do you think we got on that with the investment?
Well, I mean, it went up 100% from what we bought it for. So that's that's a beautiful thing, right? Yeah. If it doubled, then that's 100%, right? Yeah.
Yes.
I'm not a mathematician, Scott.
No.
I do want to be very clear on how lived in this home was before you took over. We've all been to houses. Maybe yours is one where people ask you to take your shoes off. I highly discourage people to take their shoes off when they enter our house. You don't know what you're going to find on the floor. So you need your shoes on. You can wear winter boots, whatever you need to make your way through. But then, you came in and the team did a fabulous job up in that value, and it blew us away.
Yeah. Well, I was happy that you gave us that opportunity. I really was. And so, because it was one of those things where when you walk into a house, the difficult part as an agent, when you walk into a house, you guys knew that, okay, it's a lived-in house with 2 dogs, 3 kids, and a husband like you. And so with all of that, you guys, I wasn't sure how to handle the approach, because I'm going like, if we're going to do this, I think you need to move. And you don't want to be here when it's done. or when we're going through this process, and there's just so much that we want to do to take it to the next level. So the fact that you've got that, I think, really made a big difference.
For sure. For sure. One kind of funny story, and we'll dig deeper into it as well. But we did our best to get everything packed. My wife, by the way, gorgeous, better. She can back up a truck better than I can. We got a big U-Haul. She backed that thing into the driveway like perfectly. I was blown away. And then I loaded everything into there. Turns out I can drive forward better than her, because as we were leaving, I don't know if you remember this, she kind of took out what would we even call it? The bricks on the side
There
of the
was a little
driveway.
brick wall.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little planter.
That was our goodbye to that home. Took out the brick wall, and we headed down the road and started heading east.
Right.
So it was quite the goodbye.
Yeah, I think I got the call saying, "Okay, Scott, we have more that needs to be done." And so when I get over there, I saw them. But we had such great guys get over there, and they took care of it and made it better than it was before.
For sure. Yep.
And so, question for you too: when you guys have to leave, let's say, and so you're not there, and you have to trust people to get the work done. I mean, that's tough. That's tough. And so and to me, it's because you don't know what's going on, and you only know you got pictures and videos and stuff. And so, how did you navigate that? Because to me, that's very, very challenging. Is not to be there and knowing your house is basically being turned upside down, right? And you're investing all this money, and are you ever going to get it back? Because you already been through a difficult time in Arizona.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, again, that trust was put in you. It was you and your team there. I forget your assistant's name, but she did a lovely job as well throughout the whole thing. Right. And then, we, to get a little deeper, we had to work with multiple vendors of yours. You had the one team that was doing the construction as we kind of moved some walls around, and you had one team that was doing the painting, and you had one team that was doing the staging. Right. So there were a few different teams that we had to kind of meet with throughout the process, and there's challenges with that as well, because we're on the other side of the country at that point, and you're there with them, and most of those relationships went very well. One was definitely a challenge for us, because it seemed that one of your vendors, almost didn't align with the values that I see as Scott Nell. And when I think of Scott Nell, I think of someone that is gonna constant communication and wonderful customer service, and willing to discuss any issue until we figure it out, and always thinking of the big goal and not nickeling and diming. But one of the vendors we had a big struggle with, because to me and my wife, it was the opposite of that, and we had a tough time communicating throughout the whole thing, and it was not great. But I think you and I are alike, where we're like, these are the cards we've been dealt right now.
Right.
I'm on the other side of the country. You're there right now. If we need to say goodbye to this vendor, let's find the quickest way out of that. Right. So we can get closer to the goal, which is to sell this house, and make this a life-changing transaction for your family. Right. And again, your guidance through another tougher time for us was invaluable. So thank you.
I appreciate that. The reality is that you and I always had great communication. So regardless of what the situation was, if you guys weren't happy and the communication wasn't there, I looked at that and I went, like, that's all I needed to hear. So we'll pivot. It's not up to me to try to convince you of something that you're not feeling comfortable with. So that's what we did. And that's one of the things you did really well too, is you made very, very, very quick decisions. Right. And so we said something, you go talk to your wife, you come back, boom, let's do it. And you got that. So if there was a list of handyman stuff at the end, I'm going, look, I want to bring these guys in for 2 final days to tighten up these doorknobs and to make to get these hinges working better, whatever it happens to be. That's what we would do. And so you made that really good. And it was challenging, especially when we're friends, right? Because we're talking as friends, we care about each other, but at the same time, it's still a business transaction. So I had to keep on reminding me, this is a business transaction. I just need to take care of him and them as clients and as friends at the same time. And it's a tough balance.
It was. I'll tell you, but it ended as good as it could have. And we got a gift from you, which made I don't cry about much. I cried when the Patriots won the Super Bowl back in 2015. That one. I should have cried more when my babies were born, but the tears, they were there, but they just didn't come out. I was fully happy. But so we had this door on one of our, was it the closet maybe, or the pantry? And
it's the door as you walked into the house to the right. So it's where
right.
you hang your coat, your coats and
the
stuff.
coat, yeah, the coat closet, exactly. And we moved into that home when my daughter was 1, and my son was actually, man, this is another story we could tell in a moment. Was actually born the day that we closed on that house. So a lot of emotions there too. We were literally signing for that house, the Woodland Hills house, and then we went straight to the hospital, and my wife delivered a baby boy.
Oh my gosh!
Same day.
Wow.
Yeah. So if you look at the documents of when we actually got ownership of the home. So anyhow, as our kids grew, and the oldest she would have been maybe 9 when we moved away, and my son was 8, and then our youngest was maybe 4 or 5. On that door, we had marked every 6 months their height, and with a pen and the date, and they would sign it, or we would write their name.
Right. It was a piece of art.
It was beautiful, yeah. So we just left, and I think regretted that a little bit, or maybe we weren't even thinking about it. I'm not sure. But after the house sold, arriving at our house here in Nashville was that door. And that was all thank you to you. And you had written on it with a piece of paper, "Do not paint over this door," just to let the team know not to touch it. And so your heart meant a ton there as we have that thing. And I'm still the same. I'm still the same height.
Yeah. You can streak a little bit. It's funny because I got a call from our project manager, tell me about the door. And I said, whoa, stop. Because she wanted to make sure nothing happened to it as well. So I thought, what are we going to do? This had to have been overlooked or it was just too stressful at the time. And I went, no, take it off. So we had to have, and then when we took it off, it was custom. So we had to get a custom door built to replace it. And I remember just talking to my sales partner at the time, and he said, "Package it up, let's send it over, and then we replaced the door." But all I can say is the fact that I'm in company with Tom Brady. It's Tom Brady and me made you cry. Tom Brady and
That's
me.
It.
I feel really good, really good. And I remember, oh gosh, yes, Lucy was. Her response just touched my heart. It was just touched my heart. It was. I was so happy because sometimes you don't do things. You think about them, but you don't. The older I get, the more I go, you know what? When you think about doing stuff like this, sometimes you just got to fricking do it. Just do it. Don't think about it too much. And so, But thanks for bringing it up. I had totally forgotten about that. That's a nice story.
For sure. Yeah, you're the only agent in Southern California that's made every client cry in a good way. In a good way.
Yes, that's right. I'm going to quote you on that. I'm going to quote you. Oh my God. You know what I remembered about you too is that the decisions you made, like when we went to make the purchase, I remember the agent, I don't think I ever saw the agent. It was like, he was one of the agents in the area that does a ton of business, but no one ever sees him. And because he has the team doing it. And I remember that going through the negotiation, they were very, very, I don't know, pointed, and they were complicating the situation in my mind. And what did you do? You said, okay, well, tell me what that means. You got it. You go, I don't care about that. I don't care about that. So let's just focus on that. You just kind of put everything together, put everything into perspective. Then you bought this house. Instead of losing the house, all of a sudden you have a house that gives you a ton of equity several years later. So you made it back. Oh, there we go.
There's the big guy.
Is that the guy? Can you have him shake his head? And I want to see
there you go. Yeah, you remember.
Oh,
remember that guy. Yep. That's big.
I don't think I ever told you. Okay, so here's a mini health story. I walk into that house sometimes, and that dog looked up at me and went, and I thought, this dog is going to literally kill me. This dog is going to kill me.
Yeah, I mean, you were our second choice of real estate agent. The other one is no longer with us, so he took him down. Yeah.
That's so funny. So do you have any other health stories you want to share?
Those are the ones that kind of come to mind. I mean, when I was working with you as kind of your assistant agent, I was I would go to some of the houses. There was one house in particular that just wasn't selling.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and very high profile house in a high profile neighborhood,
Mm-hmm.
and well known family, we'll say as well. And
I forgot about this. Yeah, you
yeah,
can't mention any names on
I
this.
won't. But I went to that house all the time for you,
Gosh.
and you had such relationship with the homeowner, and that was a hard client to hold on to, I'm sure, because there were
Yes.
struggles, and it was someone that you know doesn't matter what the person selling it thinks it's valued at. The reality is the market, right? So I'm sure
Right.
you had that. Oh, you just knocked over a dresser or something. You're good. Yeah. So anyway, there were just a lot of very interesting moments there in that home with that client. On their tennis court, yeah, all over the place, and
You stayed
babysitting to a degree.
you stayed so calm throughout the whole thing because it was an emotional situation. I'll just say that. I had a lot
Hmm.
of empathy for this particular client, but it was very difficult, very, very complicated. This is when I'm pretty sure I was in Uganda and I
Hmm.
was going to bring home our daughter,
That's right.
not your and my daughter, but my wife
Yeah,
and my daughter.
that's right.
And so I was literally texting you and connecting with you, well, in Uganda, under a mosquito net, behind a locked door, hearing Muslim chants and goats being slaughtered. I mean, it was a crazy situation working on a multi-million dollar deal, and you're the one that helped me through it.
Yeah,
You were the
yeah,
one, you were my boots on the ground there, and you were the only one, in my opinion, that could handle that particular situation because you were so calm and so loving all the time. It was such you would have made a great agent, like for real.
yeah. Thank you. Yeah, and thanks for reminding me. I guess I had forgotten about that part. You're right.
Yeah,
I forget how long you were gone on that trip, but it felt like a month or so, and we were only able to talk maybe once every 3 days or something like that, and
right.
and we were able to kind of keep everything steady. And I think it was actually I know it was a tougher market at that time, so I
Yes,
know not as many deals were closing as you would have liked. So we really needed certain ones to happen when
right.
we got close to it. And yeah, I forgot about the details of that, but I'm
Yeah,
proud that I was
it
able to
was
help
very
you through.
emotional. I will just tell you one thing. When I got back, thank goodness I had you on that deal, and then I had other teammates helming other deals. When I got back, when we first went to Uganda, we went on credit cards. We felt compelled to go there,
Hmm.
and because we knew our daughter was there. I'll just say that.
Yeah,
So when we came back, I think there was like 4 or 5 checks sitting on my desk, took care of all of our debt,
amazing.
all of our debt. And because I had sales partners like you who had my back and kept things smooth. So thank you. Thank you for that. That was
For
such a
sure.
beautiful part of my life. And to this day, because our daughter is amazing, our boys, the family is just not the same. It will never be the same. It's just better than it ever could be because of that.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Yeah, honestly, yeah, I'm glad we both got reminded of that on this call. It's honored to have been a
yes,
part of that part of your journey.
yeah, yeah, definitely. That was tough. There was, yeah, there's a few stories there, but I'm not going to do it out of being sensitive to the situation. But
Sure.
yeah, this over some drinks, you and I will talk about that again.
That's right. That's right.
just you, just you and me. Hey, so listen, let's do this. I know that you support a lot of charities, a lot of causes and stuff. Is
Hmm.
there one in particular that really moves you and moves the family that you want to share? Because we'd like to highlight that.
For sure. Thank you. Yeah, as I said earlier, I'm super fortunate to work with Make a Wish and St. Jude. The one that's closest to us is the American Heart Association, and they have been amazing to us. And man, it keeps coming together, dude. When we were going through that pregnancy,
Yep,
you were the guy that introduced me to another friend of ours whose daughter had gone through a similar heart surgery.
Jeff,
Jeff,
Jeff
Jeff
Matthews. I'm
Matthews.
just going to
Yeah,
say that I had lunch with him yesterday. One of my favorite people, and I remember when you were going through that, I was going like, "Oh my gosh!" And I thought, I have a buddy that went through this, something similar. And and then you guys became tight.
Yeah, yeah. And my daughter looked up to his daughter and still does. And around that time, after our daughter was born with a complicated heart, but she had open heart surgery at 3 days old, I started getting asked to MC American Heart Association events around the country. So I did that back and forth for a handful of years. And then I started to see that there was an auctioneer at each one. So I knew somewhere down the road, if I ever needed another career path, that could be the path for me. So I hand this all to my daughter, and I tell this story on stage all the time. And here I am now. I get to travel the country and go to multiple fundraisers for the American Heart Association. And I was at the Chicago Heart Ball last year, which we broke the fundraising record there. I'm at the Middle Tennessee, the Nashville one, the Birmingham one. I'm going to Philadelphia. I'm going to San Antonio. So I get to stand on these stages and tell my daughter's story and let the people know that if there weren't people in the room like them 20 years earlier, my daughter wouldn't even be alive, because the American Heart Association made advancements and required prenatal testing on moms, and that wasn't even a thing 20 years earlier. So if AHA hadn't done those things, my daughter wouldn't be here now. And it's a really full circle, and I deliver that message, but then I go have a whole lot of fun and I tell a lot of jokes, so I'm able to kind of connect on all cylinders. But every time I tell a story, it's not a Tom Brady or a Scott Nell type cry, but it's emotional.
It's your girl.
Yeah.
It's your girl. I remember every time I would see you guys at church and she was doing so well. And I mean, or you guys would be at the Scouts and I could see the whole family. It's just, yeah. Gosh, it's a lot of deep stuff.
I'm just trying to be your second best guest, Scott. So I'm trying to deliver on all levels.
You know what? Kevin Rom's going to be pissed off because this was pretty good. But just so you know, though, I think actual tears came down his face when he talked about St. Jude's Hospital. So you're going to have to, maybe you need to look aside for a second and, put your finger in your eye a little bit, drum up a tear.
That's why you had him on the show. He was your only client you hadn't made cry yet, and you delivered it on the podcast. So
that's right. That's going to be my goal from now on. So thanks for sharing that.
For sure.
That's a beautiful story. So we're definitely going to want to highlight that, just bring some more light to it and that kind of thing. So, well,
yes, thank you.
Yeah.